Now let's move on. I'm going to hijack Kyle's segment because we only have two pieces of news today. And so
it's
the
Kyle's news
NFL.
of the day.
Kyle with the news
Kyle with
Nick
the
taking it
news.
over.
Nick's such a mean guy.
Exactly. So we had two pieces of news. The NFL passed two protocols. One for their supporting more diversity with rewarding teams that cultivate more diverse coaching talent, getting rewarded if head coaches or general managers get hired with a third-round pick. And the second is a potential playoff format. And Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, so we'll go to you next. But the playoff format would be if we cancel an entire week of the season, that this would go into play, and that it would be they would add an eighth playoff team.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just a week. It's if they cancel quite a bit. And the seeding would change. So I know that I was reading an article the other day how Philly right now would have the 4 seed if the season just ended. But if it ended with the playoff protocol, we'd actually end up being the 8th seed because then it changes up the narrative of, we're going to basically go into a legit bracket, NBA-style bracket, and just play it out. And they go off of just records at that point. So, do you want to just talk about my thoughts on it, or?
Well, yeah, we'll go to your thoughts after this. So, does it still does all 4 division winners have a representative? So, and you would just be eighth
the 4
based
division
on record?
leaders would make it, and then the rest off record, but you would be set in the bracket.
Seeded record.
Based off of record.
Okay,
but
so technically
4 division winners would be a lock.
Okay.
They're in, and then 4 other teams.
Okay.
Would be added, the 4 best records.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on both topics?
I hope it doesn't happen because I want a home playoff game. If somehow Philly wins the division. But, I'm for that. It makes sense. They need to have some sort of a contingency plan if they cancel a bunch of games. Bring in another team makes sense because then, you get the bye week out of there for that 1 seed, which they were already attempting to, they got a new team in there this year. They'd add even another one if this happened. But more football games I'm for, and I think that's what their idea is that, hey, this will be at least one more football game that people will get to see. So we're gonna do it that way. I don't think my division had anything to do with it and them deciding to bring in another team to feel fair. I don't think is actually part of it. I really don't think Roger Goodell cares that a division is historically bad right now. I think he understands that this happens almost never. It's only happened a handful of times. So I don't think he really cares about that. But I'm all for that rule. I hope it doesn't happen, though, because I want the season to stay the same. But, yeah.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on the playoff seeding?
It's one that makes sense as a contingency plan, if things go to the worst possibility when it comes to all this COVID stuff happening. Surprisingly, even though I feel like I'm the one that worries the most about NFL and COVID, I feel like seeing how the weeks have progressed since stating my last worry note about it, it's going to be okay. It seems like they're doing testing the best way that they can. It seems like, they have staff members and players who occasionally do test for positive for COVID, and we hope that they are safe, obviously, and healing and recovering from that. But for the most part, it seems like they're false cases, or they're having to just make sure these players have been around them, but just double check if they have it themselves. So for the most part, it seems like it's been going thoroughly well. But I don't think it's about to get so bad to the point where we have to use this plan, but at least it's a plan that's decent. The only downside that I see from it is that I will have the entire NFC West and not just my Seahawks in the playoffs because every team is just doing so well. Maybe the Niners not as much, but I would hate to see any one of them for the 3rd time in a year. But but for the bigger picture of it all, if it does come to that, I think it's the best possibility to do.
Yeah, I do think it makes sense, and I also don't think it's super likely that they have to use it. I'm glad that they're thinking about it. Makes sense. It's going to be funny if it does happen and the Packers are a 2 or a 3 seed. I'm going to be even more excited about it because it removes the big bye for the 1 seed. But whatever fan base, whatever team gets the 1 seed, if it's taken away and they don't get a bye, that fan base is going to be upset, and
Could be
rightfully
you.
so. Could be. I mean, could be
you.
one Seahawks
could be the
or
Hawks.
Packers.
I mean, it could be me if we're being honest.
You no.
A heck of a tear is coming.
Honestly,
I got a
I would.
brutal month. We'll get there. I got a brutal
Yeah,
month
and you've already have 4 losses. I bet there's one team in the NFC that will go 13-3. So
hey, you need to relax.
got him. But that would be a bummer for whatever team gets the 1 seed because it is such a big deal. And in the AFC, if the Steelers go win 15 games or something like that, get the 1 seed, and then just the bye gets erased, and then Patty Mahomes just rolls up on them, I know that the Steeler fan base is going to probably be a little upset, but it is what it is. And so, Alex, what are your thoughts on the diversity kind of new reward for diversity?
To start this off, I just hate that we're here as a society, that we have to put in incentives to reinforce good coaches. Good coaches should be hired. It doesn't matter what color their skin is or where they're from or anything like that. And so there's a part of me that hates that our society is like that. And that's the gut reaction I have when I first heard it. But overall, it's a success for the NFL and a success for these coaches because it's going to make Roger Goodell and the NFL look better. And the coaches deserve a chance. So rewarding a team who brings out strong, good coaches of different races is awesome. It's great for them to finally get the opportunities that they deserve. I think of a guy like Deuce Staley, who's on my team, who I don't understand isn't why he's not our offensive coordinator. We don't even have an offensive coordinator. And I've still wondered why he wasn't considered. I mean, I'm sure he was considered, but why he wasn't offensive coordinator. They made him assistant head coach. Doug's just being weird. But, I think of a guy like that who really deserves a shot to get out there and really be an offensive coordinator, maybe a head coach. And there's lots of guys all over the league. Chiefs, Rave. I mean, they've all got great talent. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy that we are getting this. These incentives are good because teams are going to work harder on finding right coaches to bring in, because they're going to want the extra draft pick. And it's good for those people, people of all different races and ethnicities, because they're going to really get the opportunities they deserve.
Kyle, what are your thoughts on it?
I like it too, because it's the start of change. I do think that minorities, especially black coaches, are being treated unfair in the NFL. I think that they should have more of a chance, more of a shot to get these chances to be head coaches and, GMs and whatnot. And it's good to see that the NFL is finally doing some sort of change. What I don't like is it being a reward system for a team that happens to get a really great talented guy who happens to be black. You know what I mean? It's just
sure.
It feels dirty. It just feels, it's just that reward system that I don't like. I wish that we could be in a place to where it's obvious that we should all be equal and that we should all get equal chances to be able to get these sort of jobs and positions. So, but it is a start. It is a start. I wish the start isn't in the way that this rule is setting it up as a reward system. That I don't like, but I understand that we're not in the perfect world and we have to do what we can in order to make change so that way we are in a perfect world. So like Alex, I do like it because it's the start of change and it's good change, and I hope that this really does help minorities get a better shot in the NFL to be coaches and GMs. I just wish that we weren't in a place to where it's being treated as a reward system for teams who hire these coaches in the first place. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm also not the guy that should be, trying to do all this preachy stuff and whatnot. I'm just saying how I'm feeling right now. And I hope that this does work out in the long run, actually, to where we can get rid of this rule and it becomes much more normalized, because it already should have by now.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I think it's a really, really great thing. And I think I just don't see any other way of change happening without a reward system. and I think it's absolutely necessary. And I think because you look at the huge gap in NFL athletes who are non-white, and the huge gap in head coaches and offensive coordinators who are white, it's just not good. And it's not because there's not talented coaches out there. And part of the reason is at lower level jobs, diverse coaches are not being hired. And so I am all for teams trying to create a more diverse coaching tree for them. And I am totally for those organizations who are willing to hire more diverse options getting a reward, because that's how the change starts. And I do hope in 10, 15 years this rule can go away. I just don't see any other way of it happening. Obviously, I think it's better than a team hiring, getting a pick, because then even more people would be able to say he was the only reason he got the job. But this is about developing talent, and you're not going to get a head coaching job if you're not a good offensive coordinator. It's just saying, let's cultivate a more diverse pool of offensive coordinators in the league. And I think that is a really, really good thing. And it's a really good step for the future of the NFL being more diverse, because in everything we need more diversity. And I would recommend anyone who wants to hear someone probably articulate it better than I have. I'm a big Nick Wright fan. He had a great piece about it today on First Things First. It just kind of explaining it. And he also talks about how sports media is overwhelmingly white for sports media who are non-athletes. It's another place that needs to change. And so I think it's a great step forward.
I got a quick question about it. So the team that, how do you say his last name? Eric Bellamy, is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. For the Chiefs, the offensive coordinator. So he goes and gets a head coaching job, which he rightfully deserves. He's a great coach. I mean, what he's done with Patty's insane. So then the Kansas City Chiefs receive a third-round pick for him getting hired.
Compensation.
What happens if, because that is for offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach, correct? So if a quarterback coach, over in Minnesota gets hired in Seattle as an offensive coordinator, then Minnesota would also be rewarded a pick, correct?
I'm not sure if it's offensive and defensive coordinator as well.
You mean for what position they're hired as?
Yeah, I thought it was those three.
Would they get a reward?
For hired? Does the team gets a reward?
It might be.
If a team hires someone else's coordinator of any sort of position as a head coach, I believe they get the compensate.
Yeah, I'm not sure
if it's offense or defensive coordinator. It's only as a head coach.
Head coach or GM, I believe.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
It can be a coaching position or it can be an executive position to begin with, and then when they proceed to a higher rank of being GM or head coach, then that team would get the compensatory third-round picks.
Okay, I swear I read somewhere that it said offensive and defensive and head coach.
I've only seen this. Yeah, you go. Sorry.
Well, just off of that thought, I was going to ask the question, you guys, if you knew more of that, what happens if you then internally hire? So that might have been why, my question was probably answered there, because it's like, hey, if we have a guy like a Deuce Staley who's not a head or an offensive coordinator and the incentive was there, because I thought it was, does that mean the Eagles, they hire their own guy? Do they also get a pick? And which would make sense since they don't do that for it not to work, because I wouldn't be for that, because then teams could just stockpile picks where they're not really aiming to hire diversity.
Yeah, it's not internal. It's an external thing. So another organization has to hire so it's like if the Packers would have to hire someone from the other 31 teams, I don't think it's promotion. I think the whole purpose of this is just to try to get a more diverse coaching talent pool to choose from for head coaches.
Yeah.